On Wednesdays at 7, sharp as can be, Blue Gal's calling, come knit with me.
Hey guys, Blue Gal here. Good to see you. And I am in possession of a fortune cookie message. Fortune, I guess they're fortunes. Today, middle child left for her apartment, new apartment. It's a long story, but she's moved out. She was here for the summer. She graduated last spring and she was here for the summer and she moved to an apartment. And so today was her last day and we had Chinese food for lunch and we had Thai food for lunch, excuse me, but they had Chinese fortune cookies. And this one says, on this Wednesday, seize the day and make the most of every moment. All right, let's do that. So I have been working on 2 knitting projects, neither of which are socks, which is a break in my in the groove that I have been in for over a year of knitting a pair of socks every month. And I am going to knit a pair of socks this month, but I'm not going to start them until the middle of the month. In the meantime, and I'm doing that on purpose to break up the kind of funk I think that my knitting has gotten into. I am knitting currently the Eat the Rich hat, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. Thank you very much to the designer of this. And I'm sorry, my charts are, on a keeper with magnets. But this is, it's by, here it is. I'm glad she has her name on every page. Lanja Cohn Engheim. Really appreciate the free pattern and the charts are very clear. I did have to rip back. There is rich. You can see rich. And the will go on top of that and eat on top of that. And then there's a cap to the hat. And I don't have enough of the design done yet to show you. But you can see the words. And doing it in 2 shades of green to make it look like money was a very good instinct on the part of middle child, for whom this hat is being knit. I did have to rip back once. And the reason I had to rip back is the patterning on these side charts. And it's 3 charts that you have to flip back and forth from. And I'm doing that. I'm having no problem sort of doing that quickly. But the design charts, the patterning picture charts on the side of the Eat the Rich panel start right away with light and dark alternating stitches. But the Eat the Rich panel has 1 extra line of solid dark color so that there is a background to those letters. And I didn't notice that, and I just started doing the letters, and of course that meant that the letters blended into the lighter green down below, and it didn't look right. You couldn't read it, and I wasn't going to go in and duplicate stitch a line in there, and it wouldn't fit anyway. So I ripped back. I ripped back about 450 stitches. So like a couple, it's 144 stitches around. So 4 rows, I ripped back. And it's going fast. Now that I've hit a groove, it's going fast. Another tip for this one, I wound up actually using some scrap sock yarn and sewing into the hat. Isn't that funny? With yellow sock yarn, I actually sewed the stitch. This usually fits over a knitting needle. I actually just sewed, because it would slow me down if it was on the needle. I just sewed it onto the end of the round. There's the end of the round. and I just change it. So what am I on? I'm on 14 now. Yeah, row 14. So I change that when I hit the end of the round so that I know what row I'm on. And that's working out fine. I know I've mentioned this other tip before, but I shared it with someone on Blue Sky this week about having a scale for your yarn. This woman said to me that she said on Blue Sky, I'm always playing yarn chicken with socks. And I just said, get a scale, get a gram scale. They sell them now. I did some research to answer this on Blue Sky. They sell gram scales at Harbor Freight. So you can get, and I'm sure at Lowe's, and I'm sure at other places like hardware stores. And you can also order them from Knit Picks and other places. But having that and weighing the first sock and finding out your first sock weighs 71 grams or 56 grams or whatever, weigh the rest of your yarn. And if they match, you know you have enough to finish the sock. Hopefully you have a little bit more for fudging, but I love my gram scale and I use it all the time. All right, so the other thing I'm knitting, and I actually use my gram scale today for this, I'm knitting a t-shirt, and this is from Middle Child. I know I'm talking about a lot about her today, but she's been home. This is called, it's by Elizabeth Smith Knits. It's called Castaway. Just a little square t-shirt. I'll decide how long the sleeves are going to be after I finish the front and back. But this is in Remix Light. I've gotten quite a bit done. Look how nice and drapey it is. And I showed you last week that I had done a swatch. That's Olive. There goes Olive. Hi, Olive. I had done a swatch on size 3 needles and gotten 5 to the inch. And then I went to my Circular Solutions organizer of circular needles where you have them all hanging from, I have it hanging on the back of my closet door. All your circular needles. And I looked through the little slot for size 3 needles, and these were there, and these are Chigus, which are my favorite needle. And so I pulled these out and I said, I'm going to use these. I only have one pair in size 3, but I'm definitely going to use these. And as soon as I picked them out and held them, I went, these aren't 3s. And I've knit long enough, I can tell. These aren't 3s. These are 2.5s. And US 2.5. So I didn't care. I just said, all right, fine. I'm going to knit it on a even smaller needle than a 3. I'm going to knit it on a 2.5. And the gauge didn't change that much. This sweater, as you can see from the picture, it's got a lot of positive ease, meaning it's bigger than the body by up to 10 inches. Now, I'm making mine, Middle Child is shorter than I am and does not need that much ease to make it drape on her frame. So I'm knitting this with between 6 and 7 inches of positive ease. And I'm also, hopefully, this is the part where the gram scale came out. Hopefully a little longer than the pattern calls for. I did Elizabeth Smith has a version of this sweater in the instructions where you have a hem. The other option is to simply start stockinette and have a slight roll on the bottom of the sweater, which makes it more casual. But I wanted this to be slightly, at least, I wanted to be available for Middle Child to wear to work, pretty much. So I didn't want it to have that. I didn't want it to be that casual. So I put a hem in the bottom. And the way you do that is you knit the facing, cast on, knit the facing, which is just stockinette. Then on the wrong side, knit a row, which puts a purl bump and a folding line on the hem. And then once you have knit enough so that the hem has something to attach itself to, I went ahead and sewed that in. I could have found a way to pick up those bottom stitches and knit them together, but I didn't want to do that. I said, no, I'm a good enough sewer. I'll just sew it together. So that is providing a nice little weight to the bottom of that, of this garment. And I can decide once I've done the front and the back whether and I think the back is going to be slightly longer than the front, I should say. So I'm probably going to just leave the area next to the hem open and just sew the side seams starting at the hem and have a longer hem or have a longer back with the same length of hem on the back. And so what I did with the gram scale, I was knitting this along and I measured and I had 4 inches plus the inch that I had done of the hem. I know how many inches I need for the back, and I weighed this and I said, okay, this is a 100-gram ball. I need to have 75 grams so that I can comfortably finish the front. And I weighed this and it was 76 grams. So we're doing well. I'll just keep going. And it's nice because the hat, the Eat the Rich hat, requires a lot of going back and forth from the chart. I was talking to you guys last week about how I needed to put markers in my hat, and I did, and I drew dark lines every 10 stitches on the chart. So I'm only knitting 10 stitches at a time. You can see the little skull that's in there. So I'm just doing 10 stitches at a time. I knit left to right. So there's 10, 10, 10, 10, and then whatever's left over going left to right. So, yeah, I'm weird that way. I knit left to right. So, anyway, it's working out. And the other thing when you knit left to right, of course, is that the charts are reversed. So, I mean, not to get too deeply into it, but this is supposed to be the first chart going around, and then you do the Eat the Rich in the middle, and then finish off with chart A. But I had to reverse them because I'm going left to right. So, but I know that, so that works out. And so, yeah, I have to look at the chart a lot for that, but this is nothing. This is stockinette, plain stockinette. And I have found that, first of all, like I said, I love Chagu needles. And because they're so fast and sharp and smooth, I'm finding that knitting this on these small needles is meeting all of the jonesing I might have for not knitting socks because I'm still on tiny needles and moving along. So it's fine. It's feeding the need for me to have little needles in my hands. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, and the other thing was that not knitting a sock and switching to something else and having a little change in a little tweak in my routine, I think has freed up my brain a little bit to finish other things. I was actually able to finish a project that I've been procrastinating about for 8 weeks. I said something on Blue Sky about it, and I had a lot of people commiserate with me, you know, putting something off for 8 weeks and then finding out it took half an hour. And isn't that always the way? And then I finished a book today. I finished Kevin Wilson's Run for the Hills. I'll link that below. It's a fun book. Has sad parts and happy parts and drama and comedy. But it's a fun story and a good read. And Kevin Wilson's one of my favorite living writers. Just adore him. So, like I said, I'll link that. I'll put a link up to that book below if you'd like to check it out. I always like to read something at the end of my podcasts, and today I was looking for something that would resonate with what I'm saying about switching one's routine and trying something different and tweaking something just a little bit. So going from knitting socks once a month and starting it on the first and always having a sock going to not having a sock going and doing, just doing a small change and finding that opens up different avenues. And I found an article from the website Creative Restoration. I've linked it below. This article is by Dr. Mia Hobbs. It's from June. And it is called Knitting is the Ultimate Activity for Mental Health Microgains. This isn't quite what I was talking about, but it still resonates a lot. And I just excerpted just a couple paragraphs. And you can read, as I said, I've linked the whole thing below. The concept of microgains originated in the world of professional sport, in which athletes focus on making tiny incremental changes, which all contribute to an improvement in their overall performance. In their book, Mental Health Microgains, psychologists Dr. Emma Cotterill and Dr. Tara Quinn Cirillo suggest small, manageable steps that you can do every day to make a positive difference to your mental health. I'm sure we have all experienced making grand plans to engage in new habits that will be helpful to our mental health, a New Year's resolution to go running 3 times a week, or a plan to journal every day. So often we either feel too overwhelmed to know where to start or struggle to keep them going after the first flush of enthusiasm wears off. The idea of microgains is to overcome these barriers by making the actions small, quick, and therefore achievable and sustainable. And then she gets into knitting for a while and says, while there are many hobbies that can help us to feel relaxed, creative, and give us a sense of achievement, the key feature of a microgain is that it is quick, easy, and achievable. One of the unique benefits of knitting is that it is accessible, portable, and possible to do in very small increments. The fact that I can bring my knitting project with me in my bag means that I can access its feel-good benefits while I am on the bus to work or while I'm waiting for a dental appointment. Even if I only have 5 minutes, I can quickly and easily add a few stitches to my project. Betson Corkhill identifies portability as one of the key features described in the research about why knitting is therapeutic. It's because you can take it with you. And so it's a much longer article, but there were a number of qualities that the author here, Dr. Mia Hobbs, said really make knitting amenable to microgains. And the aim of a mental health microgain, what does it need to be successful? It needs to be mindful, grounding, social, purposeful, and personal. And knitting can be all of those things. It doesn't have to be all of those things at once, but it can be all of those things. You can have a knitting social group. You can knit something for yourself. You can knit something that's useful to someone else. You can knit in a mindful way, keeping your breath and so forth. And it's also grounding in terms of keeping you connected to your hands and keeping you productive and feeling productive. And then I chose this paragraph to end it. Being someone who knits on a daily basis is a constant reminder of the power of small actions. Every time I have a few minutes to myself and choose to pick up my knitting needles rather than scrolling my phone, I am reminded of the power of microgains. Each one of those tiny stitches gets me closer to my goal. If that can be true of knitting, it can also be true for mental health. Even small actions can add up to make important changes. And I just found that very much in line with sort of where my thinking is going these days. That making small changes, tweaking things and mixing things up a little bit in terms of, okay, I'm going to work on a sock in 2 weeks, but right now I'm not. Or I've been doing this with my stash as well. I've been going through stash. I now have 3 outlets for giving away yarn that I'm not going to use. That's all 3 of which are local. And that makes it easy and quick and give me an immediate result. Keeping it local is just a great idea. Um, and so I'm sorting a lot of my stash in terms of those three outlets. For okay, this can go to these people, and this is going to go here, and the acrylic goes here, and so forth. And so, finding a way to make those little microgains in terms of stash organization has really been helpful to me. So I hope you find that helpful. As I said, that article is linked below. And I will see you in 2 weeks on the 20th of August. I'm taking next week off. And I will have more progress on the hat and the sweater. And also, I will have started a sock at that point because the August sock is a gift for someone in October. And so I am going to go ahead and knit that. But I'm going to zoom through it in the last 15 to 10 days of the month. All right. I will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
On Wednesdays at 7, sharp as can be, blue gals calling, come knit with me.